You said right at the outset, the criticism comes with it. I'm sure you probably expected that after the result and maybe the performance. Do you think maybe one or two have singled out Tom Treiber? That's a little bit unfair on the night for his performance.
Yes, but I also told the players, so it's when you lose a game 3-0, you have to accept each of the criticism. And of course, so some were definitely really right, some were definitely crossed the line and over the line, and also got the feeling at times it was also a bit like really disrespectful and a bit arrogant, and also like in a way, also from the context, totally wrong in terms of criticizing. But there are no complaints, because when you lose a game 3-0, you can't win this discussion, this argument. And for that, it's important to accept all the criticism. So we are working in this business when we are winning games. Then we are praised over the moon, and sometimes even more than we really deserve. And when we lose games, and because of all the emotions and everyone is disappointed, then the criticism is sometimes also like oversized and too much, and perhaps even not deserved. But don't argue against this. Accept this. It's more like use this as energy to show reaction. This is our way. So it's never to be upset. And for example, with Tom, it's also like for him not easy. It was the first time in the starting lineup since a long time. I think with the ball he was quite good. There were one or two situations when he lost the ball, but even also a bit under pressure. I read or I heard about a comment that Southampton used him as a pressing trigger to develop a game. Danny Ings used him as a pressing trigger. Well, it was totally wrong. Really, like completely wrong. In not one situation, Danny Ings has used Tom Treiber as a pressing trigger for their triggering, for their pressing. But of course, Tom was in the middle of the park, and there is sometimes pressure on the player there. And I think with the ball, it was definitely okay. Yes, he could have done better against the ball. We spoke about this topic, but Tom is always self-critical in this moment, and we all played a part that we were more or less like not solid enough in terms of our defending in order to win the points. And for that, it's more like accept the criticism. Think about the topics where we can improve, and this is what Tom does. This is what each and every player of my players will do, and we all are doing. So it's always like we try to be self-critical, because you can't win a discussion like this and speak about the things. But this was the reason, that was the reason. Accept this, use this as new motivation, and go into the next game.
And just final one from me, if I can. A similar vibe, but when you see a performance like that the other night, and you have to take a step back and realise that those young players, particularly, I don't need to list them, but you've got 3 or 4 lads there, 22 and under, first season in the Premier League. There's been so much hype and expectancy, and rightly so, because of their performances for you over the last 12, 18 months. But do you have to maybe take a step back as media or supporters and realise these are very young men still finding their way, still nowhere near the finished article when you see a performance like that? Because obviously there's a lot of pressure on what you're trying to achieve this season at this stage of the season, and maybe we have to cut some of them younger players a little bit more slack, do you think?
Yes, I totally agree. I totally agree. So, like I said, so you can't win such a discussion. I also heard some comments or something like this, like in the way. So it's more like, Southampton does not have perhaps the quality or the technical skills to be outstanding, to use their chances, but they were highly motivated and physically better and well drilled and something like this. And you think sometimes, wait, hang on a minute. We're speaking about Danny Ings, nearly there with 20 goals. It's a top class player on Premier League level. When I think about my starting lineup and my squad that we had 6 academy products in the traveling squad. We had 6 academy products in the end on the pitch, and we spoke about Tim Klose. Tim Klose, as a field player, is my only field player who is there was there with Premier League experience. So he has not featured in a league game since 18 months, and then he was the first time in the starting lineup. His last league game was on championship level against Brentford, and next to him, Ben Godfrey, first season in the Premier League. Max Aarons, first season in the Premier League. Jamal Lewis, first season in the Premier League. Tom Tribal, first season in the Premier League. We got him on a free transfer when he was in trial because he was out of contract in Germany and the Netherlands. He was out of contract to get him on a free transfer. Kenny McLean, first season Premier League. Emil Buendia, first season Premier League. We found him on the second tier in Spain. Todd Cantwell, first season Premier League. Timo Pukki, labeled as too poor for the Scottish Premiership, first season Premier League. Josip Drimic, first season Premier League. He was out of contract because he, in the last 3 or 4 years in Germany, he was injured out of contract. So this is our Premier League experience. And then you read comments that's more like, the players of Southampton, they don't have the quality, but they were more motivated or physically better or better drilled or whatever. And you think, hang on a minute, you're speaking about Danny Ings, about Redmond, about Ward-Prowse, about Heuberg, about Armstrong. These are proven lads on this level. They have proved over years and years and years that they are top class on this level. They were able to sign a striker, Shea Adams, top class striker, 50 million pounds. They signed him for the bench. He was on the bench right now. This time in work, Long was not available. Otherwise, he's struggling to make it in the squad. 50 millions. So since Stuart Webber and me arrived, we haven't spent 50 million pounds at all into the whole squad. And Southampton is able to spend this for a player more like a striker option, because they're also able to buy players like Danny Ings for 20 million pounds, like Gineppo for 20 million pounds. It doesn't work like you press a button and say, listen, we've got a bunch of young lads, a bunch of our academy products and players who have no experience on the Premier League. You press a button and say, okay, listen, fight Eastern Brass and you will beat them, the other teams all. It doesn't work like this. It doesn't work like this. So it doesn't mean that we give up. It doesn't mean that we have no chance. But it's also like we have to keep this sometimes in mind when we speak about the players and think about the players, and also like to criticize them. I'm not sure if do we have the time? Yes, we have the time. I decide we have the time.
You've got the time, we've got the time.
I've got some, listen, I'm working here since 3 years, and I'm always self-critical and always hold my hand up. We had difficult periods in the first season when the board was a bit accused. I said, listen, don't accuse them, blame me. I always say, listen, criticize me, not my players, because I can handle it. I'm experienced enough, and that's exactly my thought. I'm always happy to do this. But then I also heard something like, anyhow, really can't. Southampton won this game because it's more like they were able to be flexible and to adapt, and during the game they changed their approach. With all respect to Southampton, since the end of September, they're always playing in the same setup in a 4-4-2, always with the same players anyhow. Always. And don't you? I think it's more or less like a strength of them, that they're always in the same setup. And we played this game, and I'm quite relaxed with myself. But my coaching stuff was more or less like labeled as anyhow blind, because we didn't realize or didn't react. We were labeled as not proactive. Not flexible, stubborn, naive, inexperienced, too blind to see the obvious, and something like this. To be honest, I never heard a poorer analyzing of the game like this, because we changed for this game our natural base formation. We brought offensive players in on defensive positions, whatever. So it's more like you can't be more proactive instead of changing your natural base formation in front of the game, and also in many change in personal terms. We've changed during this games 4 times our base formation. Although we didn't have one fullback or one centre back on the bench, we opted even during the games with these circumstances to play with 3-man formation. So it's more like we changed 4 times the base formation. We played with different base formation with the ball and against the ball. I'm not sure if everyone realizes this sometimes anyhow, but that's what we did. Max Owens has played 3 or different positions during this game. We have made 4 substitutions in personal terms before Southampton was there with the first substitution in the 82nd minute. So my feeling is I have never been that proactive, that flexible, that adaptable within the game. So since I work here, so anyhow, so my team was accused as being not able to different formations. We have played different formation against the ball, with the ball, and 4 times different systems within the game. So to be honest, I've never read a poor analyzing of our game. The problem is you can't win a discussion, because if you then complain about this, it's more like, but mate, you've lost the game and you've got no arguments. I say, yeah, probably right. And if you say, oh, listen, like I said before, I explain a bit like what we've done and it was totally wrong in the analyzing, really like completely wrong, then you've got, probably because he wants to explain, I touched the right point. Anyhow, you can't win such a discussion. And for that, like I said before, so it makes no sense to go into such a discussion. It makes no sense to ask for, come on, be a bit more calm, be a bit more objective. Don't analyze it in a completely wrong way. Be a bit more respectful and also not that arrogant out of perspective. And keep in mind that there are anyhow also some people in our coaching staff who try to work their socks off in order to work in our game. This is exactly what we're doing. So I'm not really, I'm far away from being concerned about myself, but I'm always angry when my players are accused of being not flexible. If my coaching staff is accused of not reacting, of being not adaptable, not flexible, of being too blind to see the obvious. And this is something what I also don't expect. And I start a bit then to get angry, because I think this is a pretty arrogant and pretty disrespectful and also totally wrong view of the situation. And then I hear judgment anyhow that Southampton won this game. They don't have the quality, but anyhow they were more adaptable, and we have the quality, but we were not adaptable. So it's more like I never heard a poorer and a wronger analyzing of the game. But this is what you get when you lose the game, and we will never win such a battle. It's more like, we accept this. I accept this. I spoke with my coaching staff because they showed me some comments. Because with all respect, but I don't hear and read everything because I don't want to be influenced too much. But they were pretty down when they heard this. I said, listen, no problem. This is how football works. This is how the life goes, and this is also the good thing and the nice thing in football, because it's a topic where we all think we are experts and got an unbelievable clue, and that's totally allowed, because everyone is allowed to bring his opinion and to be critical. That's why we all love this game that much. So if I go into a restaurant, the food is not tasty, I've got no clue of cooking, really, no clue. But I would never accuse the chef and say, listen, you have to put this 5 minutes longer in the oven and use a bit more lemongrass or something like this. But in football, this is allowed, and this is also why we love this game that much. It's sometimes, if I'm honest, a bit because this is what we all accept. Yeah, it's more like you can do this on social media. You can even mention when we, I don't know, I never have a pint, but if we would have a pint anyhow, you can say, listen, and let's speak about this. This is why it was great. Sometimes it's a bit tricky when you got such a comment. Also, when you think in a proper way. Yeah, for example, in articles or comments, anyhow, that influences the view of thousands of people, anyhow, then you start a bit like to feel treated pretty unfair and disrespectful and also a bit arrogant. But like I said before, so we will never win the battle. We accept that we have so many benefits out of this and rewards out of this, that we are allowed to work in this fantastic business. Yeah, sometimes we have also to accept when the sun is not shining. Yeah, although the sun is shining, it's sometimes then anyhow you think, wow, what have we done? And can't understand something. But yeah, we work in this business, and sometimes we can't choose. And for that, we try to use this as energy in order to go further on. This is our way how we try to handle it.
Good man, Daniel.